Welcome back, you beautiful people. We're back in action live from the Blizzard Arena. I got a frog in my throat, but it's all good. I'm your host, Chris Puckett. I'm going to introduce my guest. We got Reinforced with Sideshow.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about this week's games coming up. I'm also feeling really good about getting rid of this. This is the last week that I've got this.
It is.
Yeah.
I've just stuck to practice range this week. I've been working on my Diva Bomb game, so let's screwing up those maybe moving forward.
Can we talk about Retribution real quick before the show starts? Because I played it the right way, and then I went in and played the custom game where you can pick any hero. Who is the greatest hero to dominate Retribution?
Reinhardt.
Johnny saw this clip of Fisher earlier on where he was like, if you've got no aim, play Reinhardt. Johnny was like, I connect with this on a spiritual level.
If you guys haven't tried it, definitely pull out the Torbjorn, the Bastion, and the Roadhog, as well as the Symmetra. Everyone gets about 900 health. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's keep it going, though, and talking about the Overwatch League here with our current standings. If you look at the big picture, you'll see that we got a squad currently at number 6, the Valiant at 13-9. Could actually jump as high as 4th place with a win here today.
And Seoul play Dallas later on. If they get a win, they'll jump into 2nd place. A team that you wouldn't expect to be all the way up there at 2nd.
I like it. Let's take a look at the current standings because it hasn't been pretty for Seoul. They started off rough, currently in the middle of the pack at 1-1. The big surprise for me, London Spitfire down at 0-2 after the first week.
Now, they did have some rough games, of course. So they're starting out 0-2, but we expect them to be great moving forward.
3 teams at 2-0, only 2 of them perfect. That's the NYXL and the Valiant. And the Valiant get a chance to be the first team to jump out to a 3-0 with a win over the Shock. But I know the match we're all looking forward to is coming up at 8 p.m.
I mean, overall, this day, if I was in the chat, I would say this day is pretty poggers overall. We got some great games coming up.
Pretty poggers? Really? Already going towards the chat. I like it, John. Pandarang. Let's talk about our first matchup, though, because we start things off here with the Shanghai Dragons facing off against the Gladiators. And the Shanghai Dragons, this is the team that's been retooling, rebuilding. We got a chance to sit down with the Dragons 2.0 and hear their thoughts about the league currently. Shanghai Dragons, a lot of fans here for them today. So much love for this team. So many fresh faces. Otto, Fearless, Damon, Gaguri, Sky, and Altering in the starting lineup.
거의 진짜 신생팀이다. 6명 중에서 5명이 새로 들어온 사람들이라서 시간이 좀 많이 필요할 것 같아요.
Gaguri finds effect, and that'll be it. And Gaguri and Fearless make a really nice play there.
상하이 드래곤즈에 들어오게 된 소감은 중국어가 매우 어렵습니다.
Meanwhile, oh, and Damon!
因为我们有新队员嘛，沟通问题很大。
중국인들이랑 같이 생활하다 보면 자연스럽게 어떤 말이 어떤 뉘앙스로 이게 어떤 말인지 대충 감이 오더라고요.
个人的话，只能说让自己变得更强。
Shanghai is quick. Maybe they can turn something into this.
좀 많이
어렵지.
재밌고 어려워요. 네, 재밌어요.
Shanghai, they get it done. They got it. They're starting to move the payload in.
저희라면 바꿀 수 있지 않을까. 저희라면 가능할 수 있을 것 같아서 저는 좀 10판 이상 이기는 걸로 제 목표를 삼겠습니다.
상하이 드래곤즈의 목표는 언제나 같습니다. 제가 들어오기 전에도 제가 상하이 드래곤즈를 응원하면서 생각했던 것과 무조건 첫 승입니다.
They put an end to their 24-map losing streak.
Really refreshing to see. And you have a very solid roster on here. They are miles above of where they were in the previous stages.
Definitely fighting an uphill battle. You have 2 different languages being spoken by the squad. They're trying to learn Mandarin to play on this Chinese team. How tough is this for the Korean players right now?
It's incredibly tough, right? But they seem to be having fun overall, so I love the attitude coming out. And moving forward this season, they'll grab a win eventually.
Yeah, really good attitude from them. And you saw Fearless there. He said that his aspiration is to get 10 wins. Now, to put that in perspective, they don't have 10 map wins at the moment across the whole of the Overwatch League. So they have high aspirations. We'll see whether they can get anywhere close.
All right, it's going to be a tough challenge here for the Shanghai Dragons, but we're excited to see this improving roster. On the other side, the Gladiators had a pretty tough start to Stage 3. They opened it up with a loss to the San Francisco Shock, but then they bounced back with a win over the Dallas Fuel. Today, though, we just heard that they're going to be missing a key member to the lineup, and for more information on that, we go to Zoe on the floor.
Thank you so much, Puckett. Yeah, unfortunately, they're missing one of their star players. Fisher won't be in the lineup today as he is not feeling well. And as he is ill, he will be replaced by a familiar face. iRemix will be back on his stage. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are excited. Yeah, you can get excited about that. I'm excited to see him back. We haven't seen him ever since Fischer has been joining that squad. And you know what? He's not been idle. He has been grinding. He just hit rank 10 on ladder and is super eager to perform well on stage. Can't wait to see what this guy has in store for us. Back to you, Puckett.
Thank you so much, Zoe. All right, so no Fissure today, the main tank that we plan to talk quite a bit about. Remix going to have to fill his shoes. It's a guy we saw back in stage 1. But as we take a look at this starting lineup today, what do you guys think about the new look from the Gladiators?
I think the people who are going to be most excited about Remix being played are Shanghai Dragons, because it gives them an entry into the point. You got to say that Fischer's been the better tank overall for them, really revitalized this team. Him stepping down to the bench means the Gladiators have something to work on in this
Absolutely, and looking at the DPS players as well, we have Hydration back in the lineup today. Last week we only saw Silk Thread playing that projectile role, of course, so a lot of changes coming in for this Gladiators team, and they took a loss last week to the Shock. I mean, it opens up a possibility. I'm not hinting at anything, but there's a chance.
We got a Hydration fan out there with water bottles taped to his head today. I know he's going to be fired up to look at this new roster. And speaking of rosters, Blizzard Arena, are you guys ready to meet our teams today? Let's open things up right now as we welcome our first squad to the stage. It's the Shanghai Dragons. 5-gang leading the charge. Here come the Dragons, the new mixed lineup entering the stage, and it's good to see that guy in a little bit towards the back. Player number 4, Dia, is back in action today.
And I feel like they have been missing his Tracer quite a bit. Damien was playing last week, but I feel like he doesn't really suit the Tracer play that well. So Dia back in the lineup today, but still looking out for the Koreans Fearless and Auto to maybe perform.
Damien looked like he was a little bit out of touch with the rest of his team, and that's probably because he was having to communicate in Chinese. Very difficult to sync up a solo Tracer if you're having to communicate in a language you're not 100% familiar with.
Only a few days of practice.
Exactly, exactly. So this roster, they're running a double Chinese backline with both of their supports. They've got Dia in to play the Tracer, so this could be a better look for the team overall, but still quite a way to go for Dragons.
And you'll notice Guguri back in the lineup. They experimented with MG on that Diva for a little bit. Figured out that they'd rather have the Korean tank combo here of Guguri working alongside of Fearless.
Absolutely, you want that synergy with the communication, especially. Working that out is going to help this front line, so maybe we'll see the dives synced up today.
There's your starting 6 for the Shanghai Dragons. It's time to introduce their opponents. Representing the hometown of Los Angeles, let's hear it for the Gladiators. Gladiators entered today's matchup with a 500 record overall. They're 11-11 if you look at the big picture. Currently 1-1 here in stage 3. Today they're missing Fissure, but they're looking for a 4 in the map count.
Yeah, and you have to get off to a good start here. We saw them lose to the Shock last week. A bit unexpected given how great they were in stage 2, of course, but today is a must-win for them if they want to contest for those stage playoff spots once again.
It definitely is, and this match should be able to give us some idea of what they're aiming to do with these DPS players, because they now have 4 on their roster, and they don't have any ability to play with like a sister team or something like this. So that means A, Remix probably has had less scrim time than you would want, so we'll see how he performs. And B, what kind of combinations are they really going to use with these DPS players? At the moment, it looks like they're fielding Surefour. We didn't see too much of him recently. It was all about Silk Thread.
A bit hit scan coming out from Surefour, of course, and then you have Hydration. We know him as a great Pharah player and a very aggressive Genji player as well. So looking at Surefour and Hydration in the lineup, 2 of my favorite DPS players actually. A lot of experimentation going on. I'm excited.
What do you want to see? It's Anubis map 1.
I want to go with some Genji coming out from Hydration here. It works really well on the high ground.
All right, Los Angeles, we have all 12 players on the stage. That means we're just moments away. Make some noise for the first game here, week 2. It's Shanghai, it's the Gladiators, and on the mic, we got Uber with Mr. X.
Thank you very much, Puckett. Good to be back here for week 2. And this is an interesting match. There's a lot to prove for the Gladiators. Losing to San Francisco last week, definitely not what they would have been looking for. Now, they've got to continue, at least for today, without Fissure.
Yeah, it seems like, at least the Gladiators, I believe they tweeted out, a little bit of the flu bug going around. So, maybe Fisher.
It's almost summer. I don't know how that works.
You don't know, you don't know if Silk Thread's sick as well. But I think you see the roster they have out here first because, Silk Thread's a new player they just added. So, maybe if Remix hasn't had a lot of scrim time, you go back to the players he was playing with.
So you could try and recreate the conditions of, last stage or stage prior, perhaps.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a map that was in stage 1, so that's the split we saw Remix play a ton. So you'll think he'll sit up
stretch?
on. Huh?
Do you think that's a stretch at all?
What do you mean?
To sort of say like, oh, you know, we're going to try and recreate the similar conditions.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's probably your best option if the guy doesn't have a ton of practice, right? I mean, let's say for offense, you know, you have some like complicated comps where, you know, Fisher's the one doing a lot of those like play calls. You know, if iRemix comes in, you can just go back to a dive, right? Where you have Surefour can play Tracer, you can play Widowmaker as well, and then Hydration can also play whether it's Junkrat or Genji.
Some of our best moments as well we saw from iRemix with the Reinhardt plays that we saw from him. He definitely reminds me as a player a little bit like Nobi in the fact that he definitely is more of a protective tank player. And like many of our Western tank players are not really, you know, that keen on getting too deep and going for the dive there as well. We see a lot of teams have supplemented their tank roles with players from other regions or players with those different mindsets. But we're going to see the Orisa from him at least to start this off. And it does make you think, you know, if we're seeing Surefour Widowmaker, we're seeing iRemix Orisa, kind of makes you think high ground setup with the Orisa Widowmaker really on defense.
Or they can set up on the you know, that lower platform. Remember during stage 1, the meta kind of changed where everybody was set up on, you know, the top high ground. You had to have the Mei come in, boost everybody up. Then it went to where the Orisa would stand on that front platform
but
with
you
the
keep
Widow
the Widow behind, right?
Well, no, the Widow would stand there, and then once the dive comes in, then they grapple all the way away because they use all those, you know, movement abilities to get up on that first platform. Then the Widow gets away.
So sometimes, if the attacking team, right, isn't playing a Widow, it's not a Widow battle, then you can actually sit your Widow all the way back without using an Orisa shield, and then the enemy's Genji, where they're probably using dive if they're not going to run a Widowmaker comp. Then your Widow, there's a line of defense in between you, so if the enemy Genji's trying to dive, you can interact a lot more with him if you're the tank line and sort of intercept him before he gets on top of your Widowmaker.
And then we can talk a little bit about the Shanghai Dragons. Obviously, don't know what they're going to run in this match. It's obviously a lot easier when you know the defensive team. Offense has a ton of time to, you know, do some ridiculous things in the spawn. But I think
we've seen some things.
Like the desk mentioned, you know, they obviously struggling with communication. You know, 2 different languages spoken by this team. I think, you know, you have the 3 Chinese players and the 3 Korean players come in here today. I think that may help some things out.
Hey, we talked a little bit about, you know, prior in the week as well, a couple of these players coming back into the mix. Hydration, we're going to see a little bit more of today, which is going to be good. So we sort of, you know, flickers of him. We didn't see much of him in last week.
We didn't see him at all.
Yeah, it was just Surefour and Asher. So Hydration's back in the mix. So we can look forward to some of that high-level projectile focus playing the Junkrat. What a perfect hero for this man.
And it's nice to see Dia back as well. Dia goes back to China at the end of stage 2 for a bit. Comes back. I think they missed him because Otto's Genji has looked really good.
It's been incredibly good.
They were missing that Tracer play though. You know, Damon's Widowmaker was, you know, pretty effective. But I feel like they missed that real like great Tracer player. Where I think Dia, you know, we didn't see the greatest results of him obviously playing Tracer in those early stages. But I think that was an overall team issue, an overall philosophy issue. I think when you did see him though, the mechanical skill is there. It's whether the team supports him or not.
So we're looking at upgrades across the board on the Shanghai Dragons roster, and they're out of the gates. Gregory on that Diva, and yes, Dia on the Tracer. Returning, of course, from China, now straight back into the action.
So Surefour was playing right behind the barrier here, and as soon as he sees some of the players on the other team, knows there's not a Widowmaker, those players have to play so far away from him. He can go now all the way to this high ground.
Otto there, being felled ultimately by Poisonmine. Yeah, so this is that 2 lines of defense setup, right? Surefour knows that his left side flank is a little exposed because the rest of his team are playing statically around that middle platform, but a Poisonmine is often enough early warning.
Well, the hard part here is you dive iRemix, the Junkrat is there with a lot of front-loaded damage. You can't just pass these players and get all the way to Surefour. Your best option is to probably go up on that right side high ground, you know, from the offensive side, get up on the right side high ground, which would be to Surefour's left there, where he has that Venom Mine, and try and take that position, because then that would force these players in front of Surefour back to the point on that low ground. So that's exactly what you would want. It's not going that way for Shanghai, though.
Right, they've got to figure something out here. The fact of the matter is they can't get to Surefour. Surefour is getting free damage.
If we could take a look at the mini-map, Dia actually is up on that right side high ground. He's actually just sitting up here by the health pack. He just needs to get some teammates over to the side. He actually triggers it now. Surefour knows exactly where he is. Surefour also has the infra sight, right? So if he's really worried about this flank coming through, he can pop that, but Dia's smart. He's going back down to the low ground, knows he can't kind of push on through.
So hard. How does Fearless dive in without taking an instant headshot from Surefour on his way to getting smashed by a Junkrat? There's really no option. Riptire in, Free Feel to go down. It might be a resurrect here. I don't think there's any chance for the Gladiators to, capitalize on that. So Free Feel's back, but there you go. Dia falls in the front gate. The setup here from the Gladiators is simple, and we've seen it before. But now you can see just how effective it is, and how frustrating for attacking teams it can be to break open.
And they haven't even gotten a chance, the Dragons, to really make things go, and they're going to use Transcendence here when Bishu uses the self-destruct. That's not going to keep anybody out. So you burn through the Transcendence. You don't have that. I was going to say, I would actually probably held on to the Transcendence, obviously, and then maybe Five King uses this Valkyrie, and if it doesn't work, get over to a Lucio to try and give you some speed. Now they're going to go with Dia on Widowmaker. Okay. This makes a little bit more sense to have the Mercy now.
I don't mind this. It may mean that Surefour wants to drop down onto the lower ground and make sure he at least has a shield. Yeah, so you see he's dropped down now with the rest of his team. But this could open up, you know, a dive DPS like Genji. Now Genji can actually get to Surefour, and so can Fearless. That's the big question. Surefour going to back away, getting knocked around a bit. Now the Widowmaker finally suffering a bit of scrutiny. Again, we'll resort to the full-on. But a free field picks him off from downrange. That's the opening. Finally, the Widowmaker, the key to the Gladiators' composition, had been felled, but he's just resurrected. Now he's going to sit inside this small room. There was a supercharger used by Remix, so a lot of extra damage coming out from the Gladiators in that vicinity. Tough for the Dragons to break in. The Riptile whiffs. Well, Free Field survives.
I mean, the Riptire forces Free Field all the way in the back where he's not able to get any healing. He's not line of sight on anybody. Fearless just trying to stay alive here. Otto does have this blade. No support ults for the Gladiators. Needs to come up with a big Dragon Blade if the Dragon's going to stay in this.
But Dia respawned and came back in on Tracer here, but it's Otto with the Genji. Dragon Blade claims one. He's looking for more, and Hydration was in the way. It'll be a D-suit here, and that extra kill on the Junkrat. So very good foray for Otto with the Dragon Blade. That will give the Dragons this point. I like the Dia switched over to the Tracer after they broke into that first point, because the Gladiators were breaking line of sight, Matt. They were sitting off in that little room, so Widowmaker's not going to have any shots. Switch to the Tracer, keep the pressure going. I like it.
And let's see how the Dragons decide to attack point B with Junkrat in play for the Gladiators. I feel like he's kind of the first one you want to deal with. Junkrat on point B here can just deny so many choke points. And there it is. It's going to be Hydration who comes up with both supports. Can't let that happen.
No, so basically, yeah, Five King and Free Field were standing in the doorway, essentially, while the rest of the team had sort of engaged, and Hydration managed to creep up, and I'm pretty sure he finished that kill with his primary fire and not with a remote mine. So we'll see how it went down here. Notice, yeah, so, okay, yeah, he might get 2 for 1 here, I think. It's the way the kill feed came up. Yep, he just gets them both. Sometimes, Junkrat.
Some people are just blessed.
Yeah. Some people also play Junkrat and don't hit the thing all round, but, I mean, hey, we had to play with Sideshow's Genji last night, so it's even worse.
Don't remind me.
Remix on the high ground here. The Dragons have no idea he's here, so we can drop in, do damage, and then jump back to the rest of his team. He even gets a kill with the help of Bishu there. Great coordination on the dive for the Gladiators. Leap upon the supports of the Dragons, but they've lost Shaz in the meantime. So Dia was able to take a D4A while the 2 tanks for the Gladiators weren't home, Matt. And that's enabled them to pick out some of the supports, forcing the tanks back.
The Gladiators just playing so far forward. It's going to be Dia, though, with that double pulse bomb. Connects on Surefour in Big Goose. It'll be Transcendence. The Gladiators are playing far up near that choke, trying to make it pretty costly for Shanghai to even get towards the point. They're able to break it with relative ease, though, Mitch. Kaguri will have a self-destruct here to clear out the point if they need it.
Dia just cranked this one open himself. Beautiful support kill and then double pulse bomb, and now the Gladiators are looking like they're going to get shoved off this one. Surefour trying to challenge on his own, but the Dragons have numbers. It is Hydration on the Doomfist now trying to get involved, and Remix returns with a Primal Rage. Otto's going to have a little bit of trouble getting to his intended targets with the Dragon Blade. But he's just going to take fire for the time being. Again, keep his distance, only go in when he's going to get a sure kill. And it was Surefour to drop the bomb on Otto. It wasn't even a stick. He sort of bumbled his way on top of that explosive. And now Dia has to rescue the Dragons with the help of Gregory once again. But they're outnumbered, man. They're starting to fall back.
Yeah, the Gladiators should be able to hold on here. Even point B on Anubis is so difficult to take. Then a few of the members for the Gladiators will push on forward. A few will go back towards the spawn. As you're probably going to see some changes. Hydration will go back to Junkrat. Man, Dia's pulse bomb. This is what really gave them the opportunity to take this. Let's get a look at it. Okay, so...
Oh, Guardian Angels!
Yeah, it goes on to Big Goose. I was like, there's no way this connected on the Surefour, and then he ran into it.
And Big Goose queued up the ability, right? He hit that shift kill, whatever his key is, before he got stuck. So he actually... Yeah. He could have interrupted it, though. You can press Guardian Angel again to stop, but the distance was so short, and the input lag of realizing what was going on probably got his Tracer killed there. Not ideal, but Hydration for now holds the fort. Dia down, resurrect here from Five King.
Yeah, the Dragons do get 2 ticks, though. So they only need 1 more, obviously, to complete the map. Take point B as well. Right now, they have both support ults. They're going to use Valkyrie to engage here. They have to be very careful. They can't let Five King drop. Oh, there's going to be the Transcendence. So as soon as they use Valkyrie, Surefour and Remix jumps right on top of Free Field. Force that out.
Yeah, essentially forcing the Dragons to use 2 support ultimates at the same time, Matt. That's not a good idea for a for an assault map like this one, should I say, when you really need to save them and ration them over the course of a long fight. Because now, here's the Transcendence from the Los Angeles Gladiators, and the Dragons have no support ultimates to rely on whatsoever. It's Fearless right now in Primal Rage. Surefour's Pulse Bomb doesn't connect, but it's enough to deal with Free Fuel with the pistols after, and there's 55 seconds left of the rounds.
Yeah, now to the next fight, you will have Valkyrie or Big Gook, so you'll have that big Mercy ultimate. It's huge there, where Surefour and Remix are able to force out that Transcendence. You don't want to use both of those support ults at the same time, because they're trying to use the Valkyrie to provide all that healing to everybody and just kind of engage as one, and then just like set up on the point, then use the Transcendence with Otto's Dragon Blade and close it out, right, once the fight starts, but they don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I guess it helps the Dragons fact that there's no Transcendence available for the Gladiators, so they need to cut through. We'll get past a Riptide first, which is enough.
Here's the poor part for the Dragons. They're probably going to get another Transcendence. The issue is Hydration has his Riptide.
Down now, let's see what that does. It gets two. Dia and Fearless are down now, and I'm quite sure that Fight King would love to get a resurrect on these guys, but Otto now needs to respond back, fire some more shots across the bow, but it's only Hydration going down. Hydration's already done his job in this fight. He already got those two big kills with the Riptide. Transcendence is there, like you said, it would be mapped, but it wasn't quite in time with the Dragon Blade from Otto. So difficult for the Dragons to capitalize on the extra healing. Over time, yeah, it's done. Fearless can't get there in time. And the Dragons had to settle for 2 ticks on that point.
It's unfortunate. They did have an opportunity there to take point B. It's just that Transcendence is forced out a little bit earlier than they would have liked. Now that's a play where you probably, when Free Fuel gets jumped on as the Zen, you kind of almost have to abandon the everybody kind of push on into the point, maybe peel a little bit back for them, whether it's the tanks or one of the
Directs your
DPS.
tempo as well, especially if you're trying to play off a pick, and then all of a sudden you're peeling back because an enemy ultimate is threatening to win the fight immediately.
Well, one of the major problems is that Five King uses Valkyrie, right? Great ultimate on Mercy, you can heal everybody around. The issue is he has to stand next to Free Fuel, who's all the way at the back of the gate, because he's trying to keep him alive through Remix and Surefour putting damage down on him. Nobody turns around. So he's not even able to go forward with the team and provide that healing to everybody. Then they have to use the Transcendence on top of that to push on through.
Well, it's quite likely that Free Fuel either wasn't getting Valkyrie healing at the time or insufficient healing.
Well, he would have been dead. I mean, there's just too much damage going down at the time if he didn't use Transcendence.
So credit to the Dragons. I like how they broke open that first point play. I really feel like an Orisa Widowmaker. You want to force the Widowmaker to play with the Orisa, so use your own Widowmaker, and then get a Genji to work with a D.Va and a Winston to dive, and then hit that sort of first platform. I think that's the way to do it. We saw Dia switch back to the Tracer after the Widowmaker got that first pick and they started the fight.
You mean, the thing with the Orisa is you just have to get around her barrier. Like, once you get around her barrier...
Or through it.
Yeah, I mean, just through it. No, just get behind the barrier in any way. She's such an easy target for a lot of heroes, right? Like Tracer, Widowmaker, even Genji, right? Just able to build up ultimate. She can't really defend herself all that well. It's not like a Reinhardt, right? You get close to him once you get by the barrier. He's hitting you with the hammer. He's putting down a ton of damage. Be the Dragons with Otto running Junkrat on defense. Dia will be running Widowmaker. So this is what we saw a lot in stage 1, sitting all the way back on this high ground.
Well, this is the Gladiators' defensive composition, except the setup is not on the low ground. So this kind of, I guess, means that the Gladiators can take a lot more real estate. To use that term a little bit pithily, they can actually sort of move up quite close and then make an easier dive. I feel like the two-stage segmented setup is a little bit nicer. Dia, careful. Shooting a reflecting Genji, not advised, but try that on my kids. And now he's going to get dived on now. The problem is he's forced out of position. He can't even rappel across because he's got tanks in his way. He attempts to. 40 HP being chased though down. And of course, he's not going to be let to get away with this one alive. A lot of healing being poured into him at the time. But Five King wasn't able to keep him alive. And that'll be a very quick deconstruction of the Shanghai Dragons' defensive setup on point A.
And Dia had Otto over there. They thought the Junkrat damage would be enough for those players coming in towards the high ground, but Surefour actually comes up the staircase through that mega health pack room, and then when those players are forced back into there, Surefour's just behind on Tracer. Nobody even looks at him. He's able to put down so much damage. Surefour having a pretty good game. 28 elims, 15 final blows, only 4 deaths right now.
He's pounding. Remix is setting up here. Yeah, by the looks of things, setting up with Vishu, just trying to control that first ledge. Controlling the ledge there outside of the front door sort of denies a lot of the easy poke the Dragons might have. They can't really set up there and just get easy damage or put a Genji able to dive down. Now they move to the point though. Valkyrie going to be used by Big Goose here, and Surefour wants to chase down Otto a little bit more. He won't get away. Hydration on the Genji now, starting to clean things up. Self-destruct thrown in, forces Surefour to change his position and take a breather for at least a moment. There's a pulse bomb here. for Shawfar, and he wants to get it on towards this Winston. He doesn't quite connect it. Fearless survives for the time being, and Shawfar has to recall out of the fight. Dragon Blade time, and we know what Hydration does with these. Finds 5 King and just turns around against Thea as well. She's like a very casual 180, but he managed to find that kill. Now Fearless with the Primal Rage to stall 5 King on the Lucio to come back in, and Freefall doesn't even get out of his spawn.
Just looks like a matter of time now, Mitch, right? Everybody falling now for the Dragons. Fearless comes out of Primal Rage. He'll drop just Gaguri in Dia here by the point. Dia's already used his recall, so as soon as he comes out, he's going to be dead.
Yeah, tough times now. Ado trying to come in. He dashes across the point. The Transcendence comes in for free fill, and he manages to benefit from it. Now for the Dragon Blade, he takes to the skies. He descends and removes Remix with 1 cleave. But Hydration was there to find him. The Transcendence only lasts that short period of time. He needed more of it. And now the Dragon Blade from Hydration. So much Genji work going on this point. But Hydration pulls up short. His dash doesn't take him the full distance, so he had to reflect and then jump back into the fray. Try and get some easier damage. Can't go too deep now for those forays. They're self-destruct on the point. The Dragons are doing a decent job of stalling this out, man.
Yeah, this fight is going on forever right now. Big Goose using Valkyrie to keep everybody topped up in terms of healing. iRemix using Primal Rage. And that will be it. It'll be the Los Angeles Gladiators who take map number 1. And you know, that fight started out a lot like how that initial Shanghai fight started out, where it didn't work for them. That time, though, when Shanghai tried to dive onto Shaz, it was Hydration and Bishu there with some peels. They were able to use the Transcendence in that they had that got forced out to eliminate 2 players, then push on through and take the point.
Yeah, we saw the Dragons go for a little bit of a different setup on the defensive times. The Gladiators Water Boy. Oh, Hydration, I get it. Celtics, the Riptire, of course, really creating big opportunities there in that first map for the Gladiators. Map 2, just around the corner. You're watching the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
This is some good brawling from the Shanghai Dragons. They'd like being aggressive. Real momentum start to get built up here for the Los Angeles Gladiators.
Looks like the plan is coming together for the Gladiators so far. Shanghai putting together a really strong hold here on point B. It's a shooting gallery for sure for...
He is very well charged up. It doesn't get any better than that.
There we go. This is getting out of hand. Oh, from downtown.
Already a 1-0 lead in maps here for the Los Angeles Gladiators. The Shanghai Dragons, not too terrible, I don't really think at all on the Temple of Anubis.
It's a lot like what we've seen from them over their last, 10 or so games. It's just these like small mistakes in each one of these maps. It ends up losing it for them.
It can unravel you very quickly. What do you think? Okay, we're going to get onto Blizzard World, by the way. That's our next map. I want to quickly revisit something as we didn't go to the desk in the break. What do you think about the defensive setup for the Dragons there? Having the Widowmaker and the Orisa all up on the high ground, having the whole team sort of set up there. By the way, Silky Smooth, Ted Wang is in.
It's a strategy on Anubis that was good at the beginning of stage one.
Yeah.
And then fell out because teams figured out how to get around it. So I think it's just...
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it's just having Shanghai, get up to date with what teams are playing and what teams are used to, right? I mean, that's something that we saw a lot during stage one at the beginning. A lot like how we saw Bastion on Junkertown a lot at the beginning. But teams figure out how to play around it.
I want layers, right? I want that layered defense like cakes or onions if you're an ogre. The point is having the Orisa set up first. Have you seen Shrek? Come on. Of course, you watch kids' movies all the time. That's how you keep in touch with your base, right? Yeah. The point is like, having that Orisa set up on the lower platform, the Widowmaker back behind, we already discussed it, right? It's hard to dive on that kind of thing. Blizzard World, though, that's been an interesting map so far for us. Obviously, there have been changes made on live that are not in effect on this patch. So we have the Blizzard World before the spawn point, before the checkpoint was changed.
B is pushed to the other side of the gate. So you actually have to go through the gate by the defender spawn for point B.
So it's tough to push on this patch, essentially.
Well, we have said that, but we have seen some teams complete this map. So I think teams obviously still figuring out how to play Blizzard World. A lot of chokes here at the beginning. I know some high ground set up for defense.
I just love Schnax Ramus, bro. Yeah. That just makes me smile.
And I think Shanghai, obviously, with a lot of the changes coming through, and they still seem to be experimenting with this roster.
Okay.
I don't know when we're going to see them at like 100% strength, right? Like a lot of teams have like committed to a roster. That's their core. They're going to play in 90% of the games.
So funny how different that is from stage one where everyone was like, oh, no, I'm going to play.
Substitutions all over the place. Well, I feel like, from the team standpoint, like you looked at it as, okay, it's a 40-game season. Let's try some stuff out in stage one. From like our perspective, and fans, they were like, oh my God, we're losing. This is the worst thing ever.
Not only do we want, but we expect to see the best of these teams at all times. But finding out what that is actually apparently not so simple. Anyway.
But you look at some teams that struggled in stage one, and everyone's freaking out. You'd much rather like in a stage two, like where the Outlaws struggle, finish 5-5, right? Like that's a huge win.
Struggle season.
It's a win, right? Yeah, it's a hard stage for them.
So obviously this first point, we see it's a very tight choke that opens up. I feel like defending teams like to hold at this point a fair bit. Yeah, it's where we get to see that Sombra a little bit more. And it will be Silk Thread being brought into the Gladiators roster only recently, and now, of course, in this map to play that role. Surefour's classic Tracer. So, I mean, this is kind of the setup when Asher's not present. We don't get to see a ton of Surefour's Tracer, because obviously that's what Asher is the specialist at. But this time, things are a little bit different. Let's see what the Dragons bring on the attacking side, Matt. I'm very curious.
So I do like the McCree pick from Dia. A lot of defending teams here, Mitch, have started to just run like counter dive. Or just run a dive comp, right? Just dive the offensive team. Just because there's those small doorways and whatnot, as you see Fearless kind of moving throughout the map. Where, if Fearless goes to his left and the rest of his team follow him, you're going to be able to dive into that small room, get a ton of damage down.
Now, we saw the Dragon, should I say, have a lot of trouble against the Valiant on this map last week because they were too hesitant in approaching the first point. They were unsure. They jockeyed back and forth. It took a long time to get into position, and they got picked off on the way. So this is vastly better for them if they're getting to the point without taking any casualties yet. But the real fight is just about to begin. Fearless already dives out. I guess that's an attempt at killing for free fill, but it didn't quite work. He already went down, and with Fearless getting hacked up, there was no way he was going to jump out and put a bubble down. Dia, I mean, McCree's always going to get dived on pretty heavily. He's a big target for that. And when Dia's missing his front line, there's no way he's going to survive the scrutiny of Bishu in Remix.
And the scary part about playing McCree against this comp is if you use the flashbang on Surefour or Silk Threading, you don't complete the kill, you're most likely going to die to one of them when they come back. Silk Thread can obviously bait it out with the translocator. You know, you throw a flashbang right before it hits, you know, translocate out. Surefour on Tracer could obviously recall out of it, so Dia's in a tough spot, especially because then you can have the tank start diving out on him. There's a big EMP that comes in from Surefour.
That's just gonna crush him.
From a Silk Thread. That connects with 5 players there.
Otto was the only one who wasn't affected by it, but he was busy going on a wide flank. Right now, Otto's up on the, you know, up to Silk Thread's right-hand side. Geggery, that's a pretty annoying stagger. She's gonna have to go for a swim or jump back into spawn. That's probably gonna be faster with her proximity. Or just hang around. Okay. Well, she's 61%. No, you definitely want to move back for that. I don't know why. I don't know what the discussion here is, to be honest with you.
You're just enjoying what the map looks like.
I guess there's time anyway, right? Because they've got a couple of hero switches. So Dia switches to the 76. This is going to give him a little bit more flexibility. I guess he can run away from dives, for example. Yeah. Extra hero in the Bardic field is pretty nice as well.
You don't have anything to really stop those flankers, though. That's all.
Yeah, now you've just gotten rid of your one way of dealing with them with CC, with that flash.
Which those have been the big 2 difference makers for the Gladiators. It's been Surefour on Tracer and Silk Thread playing Sombra.
You're right.
5 King and Big Goose both using their Valkyrie here, but look at this. It's going to be free field. You're forced to use that Transcendence early and again.
Okay, 5 King was pocketing Fearless for most of that fight, and Bishu's finally gone down to Geggery there. Now it's going to be the Primal Rage. Fearless still opts to go back to the rest of his team. Again, he's always thinking about peeling for them. He can still do that during Primal Rage, of course, by knocking any potential assailants, of course. Geggery with a second kill of the fight. Silk Thread's down. Fearless pops the bubble, and the Dragons move on to the point now. Surefour's in a position to flank around. It's likely the Gladiators will have another crack at this.
It'll only be 1 attempt, and Silk Thread will have his EMP. He's so far out, though. He's spawning all the way by point B. They have to get a touch. Surefour will jump on there with Remix.
Dia now stymied heavily by the shielding. It's tough for 76 to get damage done with them. But Remix goes down early on. He goes too far. Otto picks him up. And that's the pulse from him for the Tracer. Special delivery, but it doesn't connect. It was a stationary object, but he didn't manage to get the stick. Big Goose was going for the Resurrect, and he will get it. And this is going to let the Gladiators back into the fight, potentially. Surefour dealt with Dia, and then Bishu does get flattened by Fearless, and that's a good clean up there. That was looking a little bit scary for a moment. Silk Thread pops in after the fact, but the fight's already won.
It was another 5-man EMP there from Silk Thread. He's able to connect on most of the players of the Dragons. It doesn't work out. The Dragons able to hold on. So now they'll unlock the payload, start moving it up.
Okay, already an early dive, so we see that Fearless is doing it more just for scouting to see who's up in the high ground. There's no point committing to some sort of push or fight on the low ground if you don't know who's up there. Oh, Surefour, that's a Helix Rocket, nicely done by Dia. That is at least what 76 offers you, a bit of that burst if you're sort of trading in the CC, and now he springs forward. Tactical Visor, definitely going to force Silk Thread out of line of sight. There's no way the Genji can challenge right now. It's a big backup for the entirety of the Gladiators.
This will be the hardest point of the map for the Dragons to take. This is where you see a lot of teams struggle. They'll get back 3 players on the payload, start moving it on forward. Silk Thread switches to Genji, so you'll have a little bit more dive potential to try and get on Dia. It'll be 5 King using his Valkyrie early. It'll be Transcendence used here by Shaz, just trying to keep Big Goose up to res Remix.
5 King currently in Valkyrie for the Dragons, so there's a little extra healing being given right now, but he's doing his best to stay safe, and Fearless has done a great job here of just corralling the backline out of position. Jumping back in now, Shaz was not in a position where he could do any damage or heal a lot of his frontliners, so that Primal Rage from Fearless, very important to remove line of sight from the enemies in Zenyatta.
Yeah, and you had Shaz use his Transcendence, most likely to get another one he sees building up to quite quick, but going to have a Transcendence here, and maybe a Tactical Visor. It'll be Big Goose using his Valkyrie, gonna give all that healing. There's a Transcendence for the Dragons. You're not able to keep Dia alive, though. Would have been huge to do so because he has that Tac Visor. Maybe you get the res off, you do.
That's pretty ballsy to get a Resurrect in the midst of this mess, but Silk Thread now's gonna go on with the Dragon Blade. He's already got himself 2. Smooth as you like. Surefour combining with it nicely for 4 or 3 in a D-suit in total, and that will be enough at least to stem the bleed for the Gladiators now. And they can set up, and this is where it gets pretty tricky for the Dragons. It's a long walk back to where the payload is, Matt. A lot of high, low ground, treacherous terrain, if you will, to try and push this over the line. 41 seconds, 40 in fact remaining.
Yeah, and you don't have any support ults. You have a pulse bomb from Otto. Maybe you need that pulse bomb to land on the Shaz, right? Get him to use that Transcendence, back up a little bit, and then go in with that Tactical Visor.
Okay. Epic music commences. We're under 25 seconds left in the round now. Ardo having a bit of a powwow for the time being with Irene's, but that's a Transcendence, so that's going to be the starter's pistol for the fight to begin. And look at this, Ardo's out of position, he couldn't join the rest of his team. Fearless also couldn't assist, but he's going for the back cap right now. The Shanghai Dragons, Winston is trying to push the payload across the line. He almost got it there, but now the rest of the Gladiators have responded. They move back into position. Big Goose is down. Shawfar over the payload here, and he and Bishu are just going to sit tight now. In overtime, Fearless has to go back to the payload very quickly. He has a little bit of time. It takes a while for that to decay in the early stages, and that's pretty big from Fearless, getting rid of Bishu now. Dia coming with a Tactical Visor. It's all open area right now. That bubble's not going to last forever, and Dia isn't able to cut through it with the Tactical Visor.
The Tactical Visor, though, forces some members of the Gladiators away, which allows them to res Fearless, so you have your main tank back in the fight. They need to keep 5 King alive, though, so close to Valkyrie. Needs to pop it as soon as he gets it.
2.5 meters, but have the Dragons run out of fuel. Gregory getting desuited, and the Pulse Bomb's going to make sure the kill is completed. The Dragons do not get over the line. They managed to split up the Gladiators, in all fairness, in that last fight. Managed to get their front line in between. A little bit frustrating, but that's the map right now. It is a long push, and that checkpoint is very close to the defending spawn.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for the Gladiators to take that second checkpoint. I thought it was a pretty good attack there from the Dragons. I thought Gregory had a very good first half. She has 10 eliminations, 5 final blows. Tied for top on her team in final blows. So her D.Va's very active. That's what you want to see out of the D.Va play.
Gregory on your screen now. Speaking of Divas, a couple moments there where she had to very quickly about face and commence peeling onto her backline. You see, the Gladiators have always been a team that don't have any compunctions about getting very aggressive very quickly. The Sombra, I thought, was pretty impactful. I feel like even that second EMP over on that first point, Matt, could have won the fight for the Gladiators. It was looking like the Dragons would have it. Then they all get hacked up, but they still managed to survive. I think the cleanup from Fearless was really important in that fight. Remix so far in his return to the roster, Matt, 14 eliminations, 4 final blows, 4 deaths. Solid, very solid from him.
I mean, he's had a lot of time to practice, watch a lot of matches as well. Also learn from a great main tank like Fisher.
Absolutely. So in the same house with the guy, I'd be sat there with a notepad and pen.
Definitely improve zone play, watching somebody I know as great as Fisher perform on that main tank role. Silk Thread has 10 enemies EMP'd, 13 hacks. So just 3 hacks outside of those EMPs. Right. The stats can combine here. So it's going to be 5 EMPs on each use. So he had 2 EMPs, and he was able to get 5 players each time. That's a great use of those EMPs.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. This is a very different looking Gladiators roster in general, now I think about it, because when Fisher's in the lineup, you often have Asher, right? There's actually a lot of communication occurring in Korean around the front line. The front line are communicating in Korean with that sort of permutation of the roster. But now with remixes in there, Shawfar is now playing the Tracer, so now that communication will occur in English when it comes to the dives, because all the 4 dive players will speak English, and obviously Bishu's bilingual, so he can do both. So you always get like a different look. I wonder what the structural differences in how they sort of set up calls are between this setup and the one with Fisher in it.
It's incredibly interesting in Overwatch that we have a lot of these teams have different players from all over the world who speak all these different languages, and the game's so fast, and communication is such a big deal in this game, and it's been really impressive how a lot of teams have made it work, and you've seen a lot of teams who have really struggled to make it work. But the players are so talented, you have to let them try and figure it out. You're just hoping they do.
Yep, apologies for the pause. We don't quite know what it was, but it was very quick, so we have to look at our marks for too long. So Shanghai now on the defense. They are not going to opt to run with a Sombra here. That might not be something they prepared or something they really intend or enjoy using, but the Gladiators are going to use it on both the attack and defense. Silk Thread, again, will be the pilot.
Some teams, they've liked using this Sombra on both sides, offense and defense. Some teams, I feel like, don't really play around it too well. I think the teams that don't play around it too well are the teams that had primarily their support players play that Sombra in the past. Now she's much more of a DPS hero than she was.
Yeah, I mean, to recap, she has a lot less spread at long range, so she can actually more safely farm up her ultimates, which is reasonable because now she doesn't get ultimate percentage for hacked health packs being used. Bishu's already dropped into the back line here. It's tough to watch, but he's looking straight for Fearless. The micro rockets there. Obviously on live, D.Va's doing less impact damage and also less damage with her micro rockets on this patch. She's still very deadly. A lot of burst available from her.
It was actually a really nice play by Silkthread to set that up. You notice he goes in, and then the rest of the Dragons jump back to him as soon as he gets to the corner of the point, translocates it around immediately. That gave his team so much space to basically get onto the point for free there.
Again, Bishu now, we've been on board with him for most of the time. You can see him very often using his mobility to his advantage. Five King is not going to be getting away. Again, he's just sort of prolonging things. Surefour didn't even want to use a blink to make sure he wouldn't fall off there. So that'll be the first point captured. And Silkthread has EMP. He has it now. Not before, now. That's not good for the Dragons.
Oh, yeah, EMP, both support ult. You're going to have every ultimate here available for the Gladiators. See Silkthread just playing in the corner here? He probably has to go in pretty quick because, okay, no, he's going to just translocate out. I was going to say, the translocator's wearing off here.
To the Dragons. You can see the Dragons want the high ground really badly. They're all set up there. They're going to try and start a dive. So we're almost Surefour here. Silkthread has already returned to the fight. And yeah, that's the EMP. So he doubled back, realizing the Dragons were using the high ground entirely. And they just get completely mashed. Huge EMP. A lot of them were affected by it. Ironically enough, Freefil and Five King were the two players that actually survived that onslaught. But again, tanks without mobility, abilities, or shielding are as good as squishy supports in fights like that.
Yeah, but it's not a bad fight for the Dragons. You see the payload just now making it around the corner. You're going to have like 2 more really good fights on this. You got them to use Valkyrie in DMP, so you don't have to worry about that EMP for a while. Same with Valkyrie. You have all your ultimates coming in.
Okay, Pulse Bomb there used, but Remix going to go for the Primal Rage to stave off the damage, or at least try and stay alive. Now, how's he going to use this to its fullest? Is a Transcendence being used inside that small room by Freefil. Obviously, he was getting knocked around a little bit, but still managed to, divvy out the healing to the rest of his team, and now it's going to be a Transcendence from the Gladiators. Remix again, checking his 6. He does see that he's being pursued by both main tanks of the Dragons. Going to take a big step back here and just try and get this finish on Ado, and he does get it. Now they're going to have to get out. The rest of the Gladiators will stay on the payload for a lot of that fight, and now they'll be able to come forward as Remix needs to back away. No way you're getting away with that one.
The spawn advantage is going to be too strong for the Dragons here. Otto does have Dragon Blade coming off respawn. This Dio clean up both tanks. That pretty much forces the Gladiators to back all the way out. Dragons will hold on to the point for now.
Geguri obviously plays at a very high sensitivity, which is actually, to be honest, why players in the past thought that she was using, third-party apps to sort of be very good at the game. She was cheating, but she wasn't. She proved it in front of Blizzard in Korea. But yeah, she's got a very sort of twitchy sensitivity, so when you watch her, she's always looking around like a meerkat.
Yeah, I've seen her do incredible things with that high sensitivity. Like, I saw the one clip of
Zarya on Nepal.
Of her playing like Brigitte, obviously using the shield bash, like get back to a point, like I saw on Reddit for a while.
Yeah, she was
really
in there. She's incredible at that.
They're going to have to get back to the point here, though, the Dragons. They do get a touch. Yeah, Bishu kind of over towards the side there. He's going to get back to the rest of his teammates. Otto still has this Dragon Blade to use here, man.
Now, but Trent said, well, the EMP, it might be a little bit tough to get that one off here. He actually wasn't hacked by that. So Otto's hanging back a little bit here, at least. No. Okay, doesn't seem like he was. Dragon Blade out here. Big Goose. Now one more slash and he'll be done. Geguri found 2 with a self-destruct, but that's just as well, because Otto didn't get much done with his Dragon Blade at all. Fearless and Geguri now have to hold down the fort for the time being, but Shaz is back. Extra healing from the Zenyatta now going to be present for the Gladiators. And Geguri's just trying to hang on now. There's a lot of healing. She knows that the Gladiators are going to be tough to cut through for the time being. Big Goose's Valkyrie. Fearless has gone deep into the backline of the Gladiators to try and cut them off. Geguri has managed to hold on here. Dia just circling around the payload. They've cut down the Gladiators once more.
It's just that spawn advantage on defense is so massive. Fearless did use Primal Rage. He goes all the way in the back. I wonder if they have an idea that Surefour is behind him with a Pulse Bomb now. He may decide to camp Freefil here in the spawns. Freefil's trying to come out. Yep, here it is. He's going to try and go for the camp on. Oh,
the timing.
Going to be Fearless who gets there right in time. Spawns up with him.
Surefour still needs to get a huge Pulse Bomb here. There is no Resurrect available for the Dragons, so they can't just fix a man disadvantage quickly. Pulse Bomb in there. Surefour doesn't find anything with it now. The self-destruct in from Geguri. 2 fights in a row. She's had that one. Very important, not just for survivability, but for zoning. She dives deep. Surefour finds Fearless though, and Remix is traded out. So both teams have lost their Winston. It's going to be a D.Va derby for the time being, and Remix is brought back. The Gladiators have been very patient and very careful. Now the Transcendents, they're going to advance. They've got to be aggressive. They're going to expand behind this push. Ardo found Shawful, though. Even though the Transcendence was in effect, Shawful obviously wasn't in a position to benefit from it, Matt. And Silk Thread gets nothing with the Tactical Visor. The Dragons are looking so hard to break right now.
Yeah, they were playing around their Transcendence were the Gladiators. Didn't work out there, but now they come in with Valkyrie. They may be able to close it out here. Otto getting close to a blade. He's going to use it, but so low on HP. The Gladiators barely will get point 2 and take our second map.
Okay, I take responsibility for that. Cast a curse. Though it did look very good for the Dragons up until that point. Again, I mean, we talk a lot about spawn advantage, Matt. Pure and simple, the defenders have a far lesser distance to walk to get back to the payload, which means that you can kind of consider time taken to walk back to payload as like add it on to respawn time in terms of getting them back into the fight. So it's much easier for defenders to hold that and reinforce that point quicker.
Yeah, Sherford with another monster game, 39 limbs, 21 final blows, leading the Gladiators to his 2-0 lead. We'll hear from the desk about it after the break.
Sassy alone. Place low. Come Mercy, kill Mercy. Come Mercy, point. Come Mercy, point. Stand point. I'm on the shot. Health up point. 5 seconds. 3 seconds. I'm barking. I can bucket. I'm bucketing. Kill soldier. Nice. Let's go, baby. Woo!
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
The Dragons have put up a fight, but they still find themselves down 2-0 at the half. It's been all Gladiators through our first two maps. Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena, everybody. It's Puggy here at the desk. I got the crew with me once again. You know these guys. They're roommates with different bedrooms. It's Sideshow. It's Reinforced. Sorry, you made sure everyone knew.
Did you know that
week.
soon Sideshow might be roommates with XQC? Literally.
Yes, yes, a new main tank. We'll get a chance to talk about main tanks a little bit later. Let's start here with Shanghai Dragons, though. Dia was missing last week. He was missing towards the end of Stage 2. He's back in action today in the place that we saw Damon running last week. How are the Dragons looking in our first half?
Personally, I think Dia is performing better than we saw from Damon last time. Damon kind of played a little bit alone, was going for individual plays, and didn't really seem to be synced up and died a lot early in the fights. We've seen Dia with some pretty clutch pulse bombs, a couple of plays. I think there's still a long way to go here for the Shanghai Dragons, but there are some positives to draw.
Johnny, on the other side for the Gladiators, we knew the questions were, how is Remix going to play on that main tank? And also, who's going to be playing the DPS? What have they shown us so far through the first two games?
Well, they started off with the Widowmaker and the Junkrat composition, and it seems like they did their homework going into this matchup. They didn't sleep on the Dragons, and, you know, Widowmaker and Junkrat, very good for shutting down the dives coming out of Shanghai Dragons. So they were actually forced to swap away. We saw Dia on the Widowmaker, and I mean, we haven't seen Dia's Widowmaker since the preseason. Well, actually, he sort of popped off, but now he's taking over the role as the new Widowmaker.
Yeah, Undead's gone. He's your hit scan man now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was excited to see it, but a bit out of practice, maybe.
When we look at the maps here, though, the Shanghai Dragons have never won a map on any that they're currently playing today. And the LA Gladiators...
Let that sink in real quick. Yeah. They have never won
on any of the maps that are being played today in this match against the LA Gladiators. The LA Gladiators have only won Anubis once. It's probably their weakest map. And the only team they've won against is, you guessed it, it's the Shanghai Dragons. And that was all the way back in Stage 1. And they still put up a similar level of performance here. And so for the Shanghai Dragons, they're kind of in a slump. Now, if we go back, if I take you down a little history road...
Can we do this?
Yeah, the Shanghai Dragons played against the LA Gladiators. And it was the second match of the entire season. Number two. And the Shanghai Dragons come out. They didn't look too bad in the preseason.
Not bad.
First match, it's Dorado. Destroyed as well. They only got 5 kills out of it. They went 5 kills and 25 deaths. They got beaten up by the LA Gladiators. 1/5 of the kills, yeah. And so when they went into the half, they had 84 deaths and 29 kills. So almost 3 times as many deaths as kills over the first 2 maps. Now if we look how they are now and try and compare that to and contrast to that old roster, they're currently sat at about twice as many deaths as they have kills.
That's better
so it is definitely better, but there's still quite a way to go before they can start to contest. Now, the caveat to this is that I think the LA Gladiators as a team has gotten better. So even though the Shanghai Dragons have improved, there's still teams that are outpacing them at the moment.
Everyone's kind of evolving.
Yes.
Together. I feel like Shanghai right now with Dia, though, this is the best I've seen them. Do you guys agree with that, or is this just a weekend Gladiators right now?
Well, as a team, sure. I guess I think the front line is playing better as a whole, and I think the back line is playing better as a whole, but then you have to sort of figure out and match them two together. We see the Mercy and the Zenyatta for the Dragons sitting back quite far, and they sometimes get help from Geguri, but then you see Fearless and Otto jumping in. And so they're sort of split apart with the communication, but when they get it together, that's when we see the Shanghai Dragons really succeed.
When you see the points taken, it's either off a massive Pulse Bomb or a Genji Blade far. So look for those 2 DPS players from the Shanghai Dragons. Now let's talk Gladiators in the second half. They've already shown some DPS rotation. Sideshow, talk me through the numbers. What should we expect from our purple squad?
So we were asking the question of who do they field and when do they field them. So we have a graphic that shows you how often each DPS player is being fielded here. And Surefour is, well, first of all, you got to say, out of the 3 players they started with, it has been a fairly even kind of 2/3 of the time just being able to rotate that around. Silk Thread, now they seem to be splitting it very even. You got to say that when Silk Thread is added in, you're expecting everybody to start dropping down to that 50-50 rate. But Surefour gives them the most flexibility. He can play the Tracer, he can play the Widow and the McCree. You heard Fisher talking about how he rates Surefour as the best Widow in the league. Slight potential bias, I would say there. But the Gladiators are really having a nice rotation of all these guys through, and it offers them a lot to play with because they're so flexible. But I don't think we've quite figured out what they're doing.
Yeah, and there's no Tizumi. Where's Tizumi? Missing all of this.
He's
just
the best Widow in the league.
Yeah.
He's the best Widow.
Let's talk about the second half here, guys. It's just 1 map away for the Gladiators to lock up the match win, but they're looking for a 4-0. They want that perfect map count in this match. You got Nepal, you have Route 66. Which one is Shanghai a bigger threat on?
I think maybe Route 66, if they can rely on big performances from Dia. He really hasn't played much Widowmaker the entirety of the Overwatch League because he kind of had to give that to Undead because Undead could only play 2 heroes. And now he might be unleashed a little.
I disagree. We heard from Fisher, the man himself. He said that Surefour is the best Widowmaker in the league. I
you'll believe
word
that.
for it. Nepal is
believe
going to be
anything.
the map. I believe him because he is the most handsomest main tank in the league.
All right, that map is coming up, Nepal. Of course, we also want to remind everybody, Blizzard Arena is open to the audience. We have lots of seats available for you guys this week, especially tomorrow. If you want to come check out some of the best games, get your tickets right now. We hope to see your beautiful faces. Second half is coming up here, 4-0, 4-0. You guys both calling it?
4-0.
I do believe so.
It's all the Gladiators. That'll make the hometown crowd pretty happy. Halftime is over. When we come back, it's all about Nepal.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
The damage available. And Boyer has so much ability to be able to just get away from players like Linkzr on the Tracer. Now getting very close, building up the ult, and there it is.
Oh, okay, the Coalescence coming out here. Jaehong's just giving the Houston Outlaws a good hosing down. Oh, they're clean indeed. But that push from Soul was nothing but dirty.
The LA Gladiators have kicked off this week's matches with a 2-0 lead over the Shanghai Dragons, and even without Fisher, these guys are looking solid. I personally have been enjoying watching Dia do his thing. He's been one of my favorite tracers to watch throughout this entire league so far, and seeing him back in the lineup is good. And I believe with this lineup he's around, we're going to begin to see him thrive and really do his thing as we progress forward in this season. But before we get back into the action, I want to remind you guys that the Overwatch League Twitch All Access Pass is available right now throughout the entirety of Stage 3. So if you want a more enhanced viewing experience at home, be sure to check that out. It's free now. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and hop back into the action right now with this match with our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
Thank you very much. Malika went back here. The desk, I feel like, was pretty straight down the middle about this one. They said, look,
Josh
probably going to be a 4-0.
And I remember the match that he's talking about on Dorado from stage 1, because the Gladiators on defense ran Hydration on Doomfist, Surefour on Widow.
I'm pretty sure the Dragons played right into that.
So they had a, I remember the Dragons, I remember like it was yesterday, the Dragons had Widow Tracer and then switch off of Widow Tracer to go to McCree Tracer. Never really gave themselves an opportunity to fight back. Hydration in for Silk Thread here for Nepal. So
the drought is over.
You think Genji here, you think Pharah, you think Junkrat. See here that the map set the Gladiators obviously up 2-0 right now. This map, if they were to win it, would give them a series win. We would still play Route 66 though.
What do you think about that? Fisher saying that Surefour is the best Widowmaker in the league.
I think it's a little bit of team bias. Also, I mean, we have the stats, right, that tell us a lot. You'd have to look at some of the stats over his recent performances, because Fisher does say during that, he didn't think his Widow was that great. And then
Because
the
he put him on
weeks,
blast.
Yeah, put him on blast, started to pick things up.
Well, his version of putting him on blast is saying to someone else that we don't have a great Widow play. I love it.
It's a way to put him on blast. But I think you have, obviously, Pine when he's in, the things he can do on Widowmaker. I think you look at some of the stats, Carpe is definitely at the top of them. I think Linkzr is one of the best Widow versus Widow players we have. So Widowmaker, Baby Bay too. I mean, Widowmaker on the LAN client is so, it's like a completely different hero. And these guys are so talented with just the ability to aim and position that everybody's a pretty good Widowmaker. It's just at the top there's some really, really nasty ones.
Well, here's a different hero. Pharah here coming out for Hydration, and we see it from him fairly frequently. And you notice that the Dragons use the Lucio speed boost to get across onto the Gladiator side of the map, and it's worked quite well. They've been able to take their pick of targets, but they've left Surefour alive. Now it can be more than just a thorn in their side. And he's going to group up with Remix. So Remix is standing behind him, Hydration's above. So there's 3 players here, and Bishu and Big Goose are about to rejoin them. So they'll be able to collapse on this point and actually have a 5v5.
And the Dragons want to fight near the point because that forces Hydration down to the point. That makes it a lot easier for them to kill up. No 76, no real hit scan pressure to get Hydration out of the sky. They need to force him onto the point. He takes out Otto.
Pulse Bomb dropped in again, Surefour. This time it claims 5 King. It wasn't a stick, but it was close enough. 5 King wasn't able to get out of position in time. Now the Gladiators, this is all well and good to be winning a fight, but they need to take the point. And Dia's made this a little bit harder for them now by removing Bishu and Hydration in sequence from the equation. Bit of a slap there. It's going to enable Gregory to be taken down by Surefour. He didn't have quite the damage in the full clip. The Gladiators still do not control the point. They're unsatisfied that they had the advantage to press forward with them. The Dragons will start at a 40% lead at least.
Yeah, I was wondering if the Gladiators are going to switch off of Pharah, but it looks like they just decided to back out. Surefour's still in there. Where are the Gladiators? Just trying to put pressure. They've actually pushed Shanghai off of the point. Shanghai out in the open. That's exactly where you want them. Big Goose firmly locked there to Hydration. Hydration has a rocket barrage. They need to be careful. They can't just get flanked by this.
Free field was already so low before the dive even began, but he's able to, he's got to use the Transcendence now. And Otto's now just really sort of surveying his options. Right now, the Gladiators are actually very spread out, but they're approaching the point from the far side. That's going to be very dangerous play, Hydration. He tries to go in with the barrage at point blank. Frustration, perhaps, that his team haven't made any inroads so far. But he goes down. His defense matrix down. None of the damage really sticks anyway. And Otto now can clean up. Bishu getting desuited and taken down. A melee attack is enough to do the job. Otto sneaking away. Now Dia with the Pulse Bomb doesn't connect. Not really. He goes down before he can get much value out of it, but now it's just Gregory on the point. Otto has returned. He did get some health, but he decides to back out instead, seeing that the Gladiators have won so comfortably. But wow, Matt, big start here for the Dragons.
Yeah, they get 86%. They have Dragon Blade. No support ultimates available for the Gladiators. This is looking pretty good for the Dragons, Mitch. They've done a nice job of... They haven't really dealt with Hydration's Pharah, but they've just put enough pressure on him to make him, not a huge factor. Here's the Dragon Blade. Need to get something out of this.
Chaz, he's in trouble. Otto goes in and he takes so much damage that he can't really go for any more off that Dragon Blade. But again, with Chaz and Surefour missing, it's a 64. Big Goose is down, no Resurrect available, and the Shanghai Dragons will retake the point. The Gladiators have a couple of options here, most of them revolving around Chaz getting his Transcendence for the next fight, but it's going to be a very tight margin. Only 4%, and the Dragons will have it.
Yeah, they had an opportunity to demech Bishu there, and they didn't get aggressive and push all the way through. Doesn't matter, the Gladiators don't get to the point. They don't get a touch. It'll be the Dragons who win our first stage here on Nepal. Dia on Tracer, 9 elims, 7 final blows. And you know, we saw a stat, I believe it was during the break. It was like Free Fuel and Shaz looking at like just the Zenyatta's. Like Shaz with, I believe it was like 6 or 7 final blows, like 22 eliminations. And I don't think Free Fuel had a final blow there as the Zen. You saw Free Fuel finish with 2 final blows, now Shaz with none. So you see it's also going to be a little bit more healing done by Free Fuel, and I know relatively near close in damage. So Free Fuel doing a better job on Zen.
We just saw a big disconnect between the tanks and the backline of the Gladiators, Matt. That was a really common theme throughout the course of that round. A lot of people getting caught out of position, supports dying too early in the fight. Problems that the Gladiators haven't really had for a while, but this is a different lineup, and having a main tank switch is definitely going to take some getting used to. They need to shore those things up, though, or the Dragons are going to take map 3 away.
Should be huge for Shanghai. Give themselves a fighting chance, potentially tie the series up in a game 4 on Route 66. As the Dragons have pushed onto the point here, Mitch. So right, they have that prime real estate. The Gladiators going to need to push on in. You never want to be the team that has to push on into that Junkrat. So the Dragons will take control of the point here as they get iRemix.
Ado trying to get cute, realizing the Hydration map was flanking around, but again, Junkrat has 2 remote mines. Hydration connected his far more solidly. Ado being brought back though. He'll have to again go back to holding that same flank as Junkrat. He again is going to die in the same fashion. Hydration takes him out 2 times in a row. That's going to be a problem here for the Dragons if that continues to occur. And you can see them all right now through the wall. So they're setting up. They're waiting for Shore4 to be able to play the off angle. And Remix isn't with them right now either. They're lacking that main tank, the Gladiators, to really drop onto the point and contest it properly.
I also think you're going to see a Riptire come in here for Hydration, but
you'd be right.
Dia's been a huge difference maker here for the Dragons. Bigaguri takes out Hydration's Riptire, but a few kills now will go in favor of the Gladiators. Big Goose using Valkyrie to secure the point, but Dia, up until this point, 29% of overall team damage for the Dragons. You know, we knew he would be a difference maker coming back, obviously, into the lineup, but Widowmaker's been very good as Tracer as well. Shore4, get this, 45% scoped accuracy, 50% crit accuracy, so landing a ton of headshots.
50% crit accuracy is unbelievable. That's actually unbelievable. 1 in 2 shots are headshots.
It's higher crit accuracy than scoped accuracy.
Yeah. Okay. Now watch how they play around Remix. This is what I'm really interested to see. How he works with dealing with Bishu. Bishu now just going forward for the moment.
They get the Mercy.
So, yeah, they managed to get the pick off on Fearless here. They lost Big Goose here. Free for their a little bit out of position, and Shore4 has a sideline again. It's either you dive on Shore4 or you try and contest the point. You can't really do both here. Gangari falls directly into the crosshairs of Shore4, and a self-destruct doesn't really account to much, so that's not really an ideal use of that one. Good move by Fearless here. Use that and come forward, but again, he lacked backup in the moment. Did at least manage to get Shaz, but the Fortify wasn't enough to keep him alive, Matt.
And they used their Valkyrie there, Shanghai, and they end up using the res right about when after Free Fuel dies. I wonder why you didn't res Free Fuel there, because then you would have had the Transcendence, and then the person you probably were res right after that on the point probably would have been able to live if you had the Transcendence and you flew that onto the point. But it also may have been a little bit of an overinvestment on Shanghai's side to do all that.
This Transcendence might not amount to much, actually, or might not mean anything. Look at the burst damage the Gladiators have. Shore4 can kill targets through Transcendence, so can Hydration with the Riptire, exactly. The Dragons need more than that. They actually need a first pick instead of relying on their ult advantages here. And you know the Gladiators are more than happy to give them some room, to let them dip a toe onto the point, and they can fight back. So you heard the Riptire? That's Ado's though, not Hydration. So see if there's a pick here. No, Shaz is going to cut it down. He tries to put it through a very narrow aperture. It's an easy pick off for the Zenyatta. Transcendence is on the point now. Remember, Riptire doesn't give a damn about it. He goes in. He's actually only got himself the supercharge of Hydration with that ultimate, so not as effective as he would have liked. The Hulk there was shot a little bit too far out by Fearless to pull people off the point. But Shore4 again, uncontested, free to roam and reign as he pleases. It's just too easy for the Widowmaker now. When there's no one putting pressure on you, it's 99% and overtime is over.
The Dragons were so close to setting up a really nice play there. So Fearless actually used the halt on Remix and Bishu and got them really close to the edge. And Gaguri came in with her Diva Mech and tried to come in and like swoop them off the side as well and just boop them over. Bishu was able to fly back on top. Remix lives through it as well. They able to pull that play off and execute that would have been huge.
See this? This never happened to Shore4. During that round, he wasn't being affected. Shaz has just gone from coast to coast there. killing not only a Mercy, but a Widowmaker.
I mean, Surfwar throughout the first 2 stages only 1 death, so they're not really putting a lot of pressure on him whether he's playing Tracer or Widowmaker there. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Which is surprising because they have a very good Tracer Genji combination with Otto and Dia in the lineup. It just doesn't seem like... I actually thought with Dia in the lineup, you'd see him play more Tracer and Otto play a little bit more
It could
Genji
also be that the
Gopher,
Dragons are not opting into Tracer versus Tracer duels as well. It could just be that they want to hit tanks.
But I think Otto's best hero we've seen him so far has been his Genji. We know what Dia can do on Tracer. Like, why not just go with what they're good at, right?
Well, this is a weird setup. They've got a Junkrat, but they don't have the Orisa to work with, so this is still mostly a dive core, but with a Junkrat just to get some extra damage in behind that. I'm very curious to see how Hydration actually sort of navigates the situation, sort of stays alive. Riptide is still going to be just as devastating, but his damage is far less direct than his compatriots.
I also think you could see Junkrat here for the Gladiators, as you see Bishu get defect in the feed. Just trying to take advantage of a little bit of maybe the overextension from some of the tanks on Shanghai. Really punish it with this Junkrat, and obviously Riptide, such a great ability as well.
There are only Remix right now, and he's just returned. So the Gladiators were without main tank player for the last few seconds. Now, though, it's going to be a little bit less dangerous for someone like Hydration to step forward and get that damage. Look at Shaz, though, immediately noticed that his tanks are getting a bit low when he comes in with the Transcendence. That was responded to, but the Riptide again might be just the answer. Yeah, chase down Fearless now. The main tank is missing for the Shanghai Dragon. There's only Geggery that can really engage. In all fairness, the fight's already happening on the point here, but a lot less robustness now available for the Dragons. Dia and Otto going down. That should be all she wrote.
As Free Feel jump off the side. Geggery does fall. They actually don't leave her, and I know the Baby Diva, so she'll actually get to spawn back up with Mech. Dia does have Tactical Visor here. You're going to have Sound Barrier as well. No shot to get Transcendence in this next fight. It's going to be really, if you can get a good use of this Tactical Visor, Big Goose needs to stay alive through it. Obviously, Tactical Visor can locate that Mercy up in the sky. Hydration, though, it's what I was trying to talk about before. It's a punishment of the tanks, so they try and go in a little bit too deep.
Hydration could have been waiting for him there as well, just assassinating him with a double mine. And you can see the Bishu was there to follow up. As soon as the Gladiators realize, oh, there's no Winston there, they realize, okay, we can now pick our targets a lot more comfortable.
Well, it's also, it's a new tank line, obviously, for Shanghai, working out. Still getting those timings down, still working with each other. You can take advantage of that a little bit with Junkrat, right? If Fearless goes in and maybe Geggery's not there at the right time and they're a little bit late, you can get some picks there with Junkrat.
Well, also diving a team without a Winston means that your backline isn't going to get counter-dived, which is a big deal, difference maker. Okay, who's Surefall looking for here? He did see Geggery getting sort of jumped on, but he needs to get that HP and return back to the fight. Oh, that might have cost them though, yeah. 3 kills or 2 kills, Hydration's Riptide doesn't amount to much there, so Surefall's probably just here to poke. Curious that they actually commit the Transcendence to this fight, when theoretically they're in a 4v6 scenario, perhaps expecting that they can sort of rewrite this ship, but there is still 4 players for the Gladiators up here. Fearless goes down, Dia now with a Tactical Visor, normally a good fight finisher if I've ever seen one, and now this is going to force the Gladiators away. Hydration though has returned to the point on the Doomfist though. Dia's not aware of this, and Surefall's chased him down. Hydration though, very low HP, and there's still 2 supports and a tank there. Remix, I don't think is going to stick around.
It would have made sense to use that Transcendence to get the res on Remix if he actually used his Primal Rage. I thought they were going to get that res off on him so he could use Primal Rage. You see Fearless just bashing around Hydration, takes out the Riptide as well. Hydration will stay on Doomfist here, so I know how good of a Doomfist player Hydration is. I know. Really the only player in the league right now is still playing Doomfist. Oh, they get Fearless really low.
I don't think Fearless took the extra. It's hard to say. It didn't take full damage from the fist. I think if Hydration had charged that for its full duration, he probably would have been able to finish Fearless with the rest of the combo. Regardless, Dia just gets rocked and socked. This man just punching out of combos, giving him the fair. Geggery. Now, look, notice how she's positioned herself there. Both the supports are sort of quite nearby. She can't really come forward right now unless Fearless is doing so. That's a good response from the Dragons. I like this.
Dia will bust out Doomfist as well.
Okay.
All right.
Now I'm getting pumped for this. Let's go. There is going to be a Meteor Strike available for Hydration. We'll see if we can actually get any value out of that, given there's not any real other abilities on the side of the Gladiators to tie the Dragons together or to sort of apply crowd control effects.
And I love when you see Doomfist gameplay. I mean, he's so good at just blowing up people on the other team, right? Just goes in on a D.Va, just a punch, an uppercut, she's D-mech, and then you start building up those shields, right? And then you really start to have some fun.
Oh, Dia actually had the better of hydration. He had to pull the pin. Oh, free Bill! He didn't know what was coming. Hydration there. Hits him from orbit. And now he can move back to the point. Again, you notice he'll get a little bit of shielding for their abilities that he uses, but he needs to actually combo up to get that extra, I guess, durability in these fights. Gregory, desuited now. What a weird round we've seen. Shanghai are up to 92%, but Shawfar has a little bit of room to breathe. He's got his eyes on Ado, a player on Tracer who hasn't really wanted to go for the TVT duel so far in this match. And now Fearless will get really burned down in terms of his health as he tries to get to the point. The rest of the Dragons kind of being held at arm's length by the Gladiators now. It's too risky for them to come forward, and they've got a threat in their backline. Sound barrier here. 4 players from the Gladiators get that. Shawfar doesn't benefit from it, but no one's really paying any attention to him right now, which may be the undoing of the Dragons.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough for Shanghai to come back into this fight, Mitch. Dia on the point, Ado in 5 King. Every time they get off, overtime just burning down so fast. All 6 members of the Gladiators are alive here. There it is. Overtime will burn down. It'll be the Los Angeles Gladiators who take this series with 3 maps thus far.
You definitely see a couple of the cracks in the armor of the Gladiators here, but it's also worth knowing that they're not at full strength right now, or at least their optimal roster setup. And for the Shanghai Dragons, though, good performances in general from Dia. His return has been excellent. We've seen him on the Tracer, we've seen him on a couple of picks. The Widowmaker was also very solid. We've still got another map in which to have this Dragons lineup showcased, Matt. So we're sticking around for that one. We hope you guys do too. This is the Overwatch League. We'll be back after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
there's going to be that additional pressure here to stand up and get the job done.
You really see teams pushing each other to a higher level.
How do you continue this momentum right now?
It's like a marathon, you know, you got to be ready to go the distance.
There's a lot of pressure on us. The camera's always on you.
It is something that takes an incredible amount of skill to be the best at.
Another attempt for the Shanghai Dragons to clock up their first win of the Overwatch League. Another day where they will have to go home disappointed, but we've still seen, again, I feel like we always say this actually, it sounds like a bit corny after a while, but we have seen good things from them. The return of Dia has been very, very good. His performance, statistically speaking and otherwise, has been a, he's been a standout for the Dragons.
With so many changes to this roster, whether it's players and coaching and whatnot, you see Silkthread will come in for hydration. You're basically starting from scratch with the Dragons. You would look at this team as a team that's basically even before preseason, right? Because you take all our practice time, that's gone away now. You're really starting like from scratch. I mean, so it's extremely difficult.
Your identity is completely changed. You have on this roster, you have 3, predominantly Korean speakers, 3 predominantly Chinese speakers. Bridging those two. That's what Gregory said. Like the first feeling she had about the Dragons is that Chinese is hard.
Yeah,
they're all trying to learn how to communicate with each other. That's crazy.
And you look, it's going to take time. Like a lot of these games, right? They're going against teams who have been established even before preseason. So you're going back to, December, November. Right? All that playtime on these maps has definitely paid off for them. Shanghai didn't have that luxury, right? A lot of these players are brought in late, you bring in a new coaching staff, you're trying all these new things. It's like almost like stage 3 is going to be a big testing game for them, and then we'll see in stage 4 like what they really have.
I think, one thing we just wanted to see from them is, be able to develop that identity, that color, and establish that over the course of the season. But they had to make changes. They weren't getting the results they wanted with that initial roster, and this is how you rectify those issues.
Clearly, there is a lot of individual skill on this team. Like, you see, flashes from every player on the roster. It's just putting it together as a whole. That is what's the hardest thing to do. And it's not going to happen overnight. A lot of people I saw, they were like, once these new players come in, they're going to start winning right away. It's like, it's not that easy. Like, these teams have been playing for a while.
Work.
No, yeah. It's unfair to the players, right, to put that much pressure on them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big conversation around that, around the new entrance for the Dragons. All right, come on, it's a bit much to expect. It's not how you win.
I said the same thing, come on, mate.
Come on, mate, you said that? I've never heard you say that. Dia goes down to Shawfall, though. A moment, perhaps, where Gregory wasn't able to provide that defense matrix. Again, tough to know when to use it sometimes, especially with Shawfall. Again, heralded by Fisher as the best Widowmaker in the league, as his teammate, so, take that with a pinch of salt.
He is very good.
Perhaps he's referring to Tsumi, who only appears under a certain set of conditions. And I don't know if they've been satisfied. We'll have to see.
I think Surefour, obviously, he's had a lot of hype in the past and coming in Overwatch League. I think there was a lot of people thought it would go 1 or 2 A's. You'd see him really starting to pick up his play. I think he's one of the players who has definitely benefited from the structure of the Overwatch League.
He's been called best in the West before.
Yeah,
there was definitely a time when he was, apart from beyond, considered the best.
He's been a sick player throughout Overwatch's history.
But is he going to be the best in the Wild West? That's the question right now. Far, he seems
You're on fire today. We have another match to do.
So far, he seems to be trending fairly well. We'll see the setup here. So what we need to see from the Dragons, Matt? What do we need to see? They've got the Genji Tracer dive. You play it out for me.
Dia's got a pretty good Widow. Why not just challenge Surefour with it?
Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them go Widow Tracer. Put auto on. The issue is how comfortable are you with auto on Tracer? Is that what you want to commit to? Because I think you like Dia's Widowmaker, but what about auto's Tracer? This is where having somebody like a Snillo, where it's maybe Damon comes in, right? And then you have 2 players who can play Tracer at that high level.
Well, not a terrible start to the fight here. You saw the Transcendence come out for the Dragons. After the pick, Shawfall got taken down by Otto in the beginning, but the Gladiators were able to just sort of surge forth about midway through the fight. Hey, Freefield, nicely done. Cleans up Silkthread there inside the bottom of Big Earls. Remix and Bishu are all about it right now. Dia's kind of caught in the mix, and Shawfall's about to return back to the fight. So that window with no Widow has expired now for the Dragons. They have made some progress with the payload map, but it's not been much.
Well, I mean, the issue is if Dia's not, because right now you have Fearless, Gregory, and Otto who can put a lot of pressure on Surefour in the back on Widowmaker, right? if they're doing that, Dia has to be the one that's harassing supports. If you're not killing supports, and then you're not diving all the way into the back, and you can't even make it back to the Widow, you're really not accomplishing much. So you need to really commit to one or the other, at least try and coordinate some type of play.
Oh, that's Fearless trying to go in there. He realized that even if he got burst down, he'd have the Primal Rage to rely on. Problem is, his dive didn't actually yield any early picks for the Dragons. He was looking for Shaz, he didn't get him, but Geggery's gonna fix that nicely. She gets the D-suit and 2 kills. Big Goose and Silk Thread are down. So that Mercy there that we're hoping to see a Valkyrie from for Gladiators, now taken out of the picture. Perfect start to the fight. It's not that common. You see a D.Va self-destruct be your saving grace, unless you're a Philadelphia fan from stage 1. But still, that was just what the Doctor ordered for the Dragons in lieu of the dive not really working out.
That is huge. We can take a look at this as well.
Oh my god.
There's the mech. See
Transcendence?
Shaz uses the Transcendence there, obviously not going to be too beneficial. But now the Gladiators will push on forward. They want to play right at this choke. This is where we see a lot of teams maybe go over towards like Sombra, and this is why you see Silk Thread in the game, so they can play that Widow Tracer. A lot like how I said, maybe like in the future, like Damon comes in and plays for Shanghai in a map like this, because you want to play Widow Tracer the entire time, and you believe your main Tracer player of sorts. Obviously, the Gladiators' main Tracer is Asher, but he's not in the lineup today for any of the matches, but this is what you would go to.
I mean, and we've seen Damon in contenders as well for NRG, very impactful. Him and Stratus for a great DPS combo. Transcendence, so that's been forced out. That's exactly what Silk Thread wants here. We talk about his trace, we haven't seen much of that prior to him joining the Gladiators whatsoever. But that was exactly what the Gladiators needed to see happen there. Pulse Bomb is, you're more than happy to commit that. He's a third of his way to his next one. And now the Dragons are lacking that very key support ultimate. Five King doesn't have his sound barrier either. So the Dragons are sitting ducks at this stage. Annoyingly, Surefour can't get 5 King behind the payload, but he will be cleaned out.
And they just pocket Surefour through all that pressure that Fearless puts down. That allows Remix Bishu in Silk Thread to go into the back line. He'll eliminate some of those players and gives Bishu enough time to come back and peel and take out Fearless.
How do you press Surefour? So you already mentioned playing a Widow against him. What else? How do we get rid of this threat if you're a Dragons fan or player?
It's difficult on this stage of the map. It's almost like second point of Dorado, right, where like the defense controls all that high ground. Like you kind of need that Widowmaker to just at least put some pressure on. Because right now, Surefour can like stand out in the open. There's not any long range damage that's coming on through. The Dragons will use their sound barrier just to get through. And they push on it, they get Shaz. So instead of going for Surefour, they jump right on top of Shaz, they get him.
But in the meantime, their backline's kind of getting mashed because Silk Thread's getting himself in there. And in the other side of the map, Surefour's able to deal with a Dia who's diving on top of him as the Widowmaker at close range. So between Silk Thread and Surefour, both the front and back lines of the Dragons are struggling.
And Surefour basically runs all the way back to the third part of the map, and Fearless just chases him all the way there, so you don't have that Winston to jump back onto the payload, helping you get rid of some of the tanks here for the Gladiators. But Shanghai does hold on, some big kills from Dia. It'll be a Transcendence available here for the Gladiators, and you'll have a self-destruct to clear the card.
I've been very happy with Dia and Geggery, especially over the course of this map, man. That was very clever. So that they just focus down that Big Goose wall. Again, it's that target focus. Fearless, Ado, and Geggery, obviously all Korean native speakers, so that dive, for the most part, is actually sort of able to be fairly straightforward. You know, Dia's going to play it as a solo player around the map, but he's actually been getting involved in a lot of these fights. Notice his positioning now. The cleanup's going to be pretty gnarly. Geggery gets desuited. Big Goose now, I think he was trying to actually get a resurrect there through the Transcendence, but he couldn't. Perhaps he was interrupted. Despite the Transcendence sort of being in effect there. And the Dragons are very close. 0.23 meters away from the point now. Bishu's trying to keep it held up, but he can't. And the Dragons will have a tilt at finishing off this map.
Yeah, and I know what the Dragons are going to try and do is, play over towards that top choke and then send Otto in there with that Dragon Blade, just cut through everybody up. And he falls before they can even get that type of play going. But, Fearless, Geggery dive all the way in. They're able to help clean up some kills with Dia. Surefour will switch off of Widowmaker, go to McCree.
Waiting for Silk Thread. Again, if he can force an early recall on Silk Thread, that could be when the Dragons could start the dive, knowing that the Tracer couldn't actually get to their backline safely. That's what he's waiting for. There's also a Pulse Bomb there, so Dia can do a hell of a lot. Payload's been moving this whole time, by the way, pretty consistently. It should get stopped about now. Most of the fighting occurring just right by this health pack room. Geggery being desuited means an instant disengage.
A lot more McCree in Stage 3 than we've seen throughout Overwatch League this far. Seeing him make a little bit of a comeback. See Surefour switches over to him in one fight already at 88%. I mean, that happens when you have 57% weapon accuracy, right? Just putting down a ton of damage. What are you going to say?
No, I don't mind that you can use McCree here because attacking teams can actually flank both left and right on you. So having someone that can sort of cut, do exactly that, flash up the Genji as he gets aggressive. Once again, Geguri delivers a massive self-destruct, gets a DC on Bishu, and also finds both supports. Again, this reminds me of Poco in the Philadelphia Fusion. She is single-handedly breaking open these fights.
She's kept them in this map with 5 self-destruct kills. I mean, to take out a lot of the Gladiators at point A, and then here to even give them a chance of pushing the payload to the distance.
Wow. Shell of the moment now. She's got more to be done, though. Transcendence from both teams being thrown over on the point. Gregory, again, she can do a lot of that damage towards, you know, enemy main tanks as well. Get up close to Remix, start to pressure the Winston away from her backline. Shawfall, though, deals with Fearless. You can see Dia goes very deep and is forced to recall out pretty quickly. Self-destruct thrown in. Not nearly as impressive as Geguri's earlier on, but she now doesn't have the opportunity to go for that. She gets desuited, pushed back. Flashbang doesn't connect with Fire King, but he can't get close enough to the payload, and Silkthread chased all the way down to deal with Free Feel. And for the Shanghai Dragons, a result like this, nothing to be turning your nose up at.
No. I mean, they basically push it all the way to the distance. We can take another look at some of the fantastic D.Va ultimates from Geguri. This one over towards the end. Oh yeah, you see Big Goose up in the sky.
Shaz may also have been watching the D.Va bomb and sort of backed into, not realizing that he was sort of in the corner. Sometimes, obviously, if you check the D.Va bomb's position, you can get yourself stuck up against a wall. We point this out, though, because at this point in the Overwatch League, you notice that most teams are using D.Va bombs purely as remeching mechanics or to get your health back, purely because most teams sort of know how to play around them. If you get enough warning, you can always sort of just break out and disengage. But, you know, you were playing that into a team that features, you know, things like a McCree, the Zenyatta's there, so mobility is not always at a premium. And also, if you're a Mercy and you don't have anyone to Guardian Angel to, that will get you out of trouble, and you'll also go up in flames yourself.
And we mentioned how big she was in the first half for Shanghai. She leads Shanghai in elims, second in final blows, tops in overall team damage.
Least deaths.
Least deaths.
As a D.Va?
Yeah, there's a...
As a D.Va with like the highest amount of kill contribution, the least deaths, this is very...
I mean, there's not much else you could do, right? I mean, you look at her damage compared
30% damage contribution.
I mean, you look at her damage compared to Bishu on the other side. Obviously, you know, something to be said between defending and attacking, right? You know, a little bit of a different role. In
also doesn't help that Ardo had a bit of a rougher game in terms of his damage overall.
It's true. Still happened, though. So, you know, Bishu's sitting at, you know, what, a little bit over 5,000 damage. Geguri's sitting at a little over 8,000. So you can see the damage she's able to put down.
Perhaps she's trying to... Geguri might at this stage be just trying to spot out some people. You also just let your micro rockets go at the spawn door just to try and get a little bit quicker towards your next ultimate.
5 self-destruct kills also help out with the damage
that is a thing. That is definitely a thing. This is we have a self-destruct damage counter doing it. That'll be interesting. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's all about kills here. Right, so Geguri backs away and does rejoin the rest of the Dragons. What's Remix looking to line up here? Okay, spots out the majority of the Dragons that are all clumped fairly closely together with Free Feel on the high ground. They're getting aggressive with, you know, 5 King speed boost.
I was going to say, if you're going to play this comp from Shanghai on defense, you have to be aggressive. You can't just kind of sit back, right? Because they are playing a full-out dive on defense with that Lucio.
With a Lucio?
Yeah, which usually you would see like Mercy in this kind of situation. Free Feel has no chance to live there. There's no one even close to him. I mean,
no, he didn't have any support. You can't expect Geguri to peel from when she's already diving at the time as well. So a little bit tough there. Perhaps decision-making forks could have been better navigated, but regardless, Ardo there can't block lightning, my friend. And Silkthread finishes him off after the reflect phase is up.
I mean, how would you have liked her to peel? Just turn her back to the Widowmaker and just fly up to the top big girls? I mean, Free Feel was already weak as well, so I mean, not really much chance to keep him alive anyway.
There's some people that notice as well that sometimes they use Reflect instead of Deflect as the ability name, but technically, if you're aiming the damage back at the damage giver, it is a Reflect. But obviously, the ability is called Deflect. Reasonable.
I'm happy you explained that.
Yeah.
Super confused.
Just making sure.
All right, thanks for clarifying.
Well, you see some of the threads that go up on Reddit, Matt, and you definitely feel like some people need to be educated. Couple kills there, Shawfall, though, cleans up pretty comfortably. Dia went down to that one. And a self-destruct now for Bishu. He's getting involved in some of the action.
Yeah, he's jealous.
That's why it's my spotlight.
He's like, I want to do some stuff with my self-destruct. Usually you just use it to get back in mech. Then by the time you get back in mech, you're already dead, so you're getting out of it again.
Yeah.
So Otto will have Dragon Blade for the next fight. It's just whether the Dragons can get in a position to use it. Right now, it's just Big Goose on the payload, so Just moving it on through that choke. Gladiators have some ultimates to use to kind of push on up, right? They have this pulse bomb to use in the close quarters.
Oh, they found free Phil.
And he's alone. And he's alone. There's no one even close.
They're not trying to get on him. They realize now that the rest of the Dragons have already dived in. So even if Free Phil is allowed to pick out of that little hole, he has line of sight on maybe 20% of his team.
Yeah, but it's okay. I was going to say if Silk Thread would have turned to his left, he would have had a one-on-one out in space against Zen, which he has to win at that point.
Free Phil dropped down when he was so out of position, so you're right. Risky spot for him to put himself in, but Silk Thread had other plans, other ideas. Fearless dives in. See, despite all the damage coming back at him, survives longer than I perhaps would have expected. Ardo now is on his own. The classic conundrum. Do I press E when there's a Winston present? Answer is probably yes still.
And I think that's where you see some of the miscommunication or just everybody not on the same page for Shanghai, because Fearless and Otto are pushing on out. The other three, Geguri and both supports who are alive, are trying to get Bishu out of mech. They don't accomplish that. Bishu's able to make it back, and then they lose Fearless and Otto. So at that point, you have to decide. Can Freefeel and Five King just handle Bishu on their own, or do they need that help from the D.Va?
4-man sound barrier. Geguri and Dia didn't get any of that. Could be dangerous now as the pulse bomb gets stuck on the rest of the Dragons. Overshield has expired anyway now, so the real damage starts coming in. Good layering of support ultimate though. Freefeel now goes for the Transcendence, but already having lost that D.Va, Otto can't really get to grips with any of his intended targets. He does note with interest that Shaz has veered off to the left after his Transcendence had expired. But Surefour, Matt is sitting on the left here of Otto and has so much room to breathe. You see he just domes that Genji. Gets a little bit of extra damage in there with the full auto mode. And the Gladiators now, they're just leaning into this. Now they don't have to go too crazy. Surefour cleans up Otto as he peeks out. And perhaps what Fisher was saying about this man might just be true. Surefour really dishing the damage. And Geguri, again, getting desuited straight into the crosshair.
Fearless goes on in with Otto when they use the Dragon Blade. Dia is there as well. When the blade wears off, it seems like another little bit of a miscommunication where everybody falls back. Fearless is still going after Surefour at that time, then realizes has no teammates in the area, tries to jump back out, gets picked off, you lose your main tank, everything starts to spiral out of control from there. So, look, I think these are problems that Shanghai can definitely correct. It's not going to be a week. It's going to take a little bit of time.
I think they had similar issues with Roshan actually as well, trying to figure out how to enable their Winston to do as much as possible.
I think that was a different issue as well, though, because you were pocketing Undead for what felt like forever. You weren't healing him at all.
That's another story. Entirely. So Surefour has another infra site. He actually had one in the previous fight. So that's a very quick generation of that ultimate ability for the Widowmaker. Now he knows exactly how the Dragon's set up. Look at that pulse bomb, beautiful, but Freefeel still gets the kill on Silk Thread. However, you'll take this trade. You take a Tracer for the enemy Winston, I feel, 9 times out of 10. And Surefour gets a little bit caught up there. Ardo to chase down. Bishu was desuited, so there's not much left of the Gladiators here.
Dia now will switch over to Widowmaker. We've been waiting for this, throughout the map. Surefour has dominated this whole matchup, just in general. 29 elims right now, 20 final blows. And you look at the Tracer battle, it's really been, Otto, who's played a lot of Tracer. No, well, I mean, they've switched off, right? I mean, Otto's played a lot of Genji. You've seen Dia play the Tracers all, regardless, in terms of Tracer player. I mean, right now, Silk Thread sitting at 12 final blows. Dia sitting with 8, Otto with only 4. And then eliminations in general. I mean, Silk Thread's contributed to 28 kills. As opposed to 23 combined from the other two.
I mean, Surefour's stats are ridiculous right now with 20 eliminations. That's 66% of the eliminations. No, final blows, sorry, that the Shanghai Dragons have. That's huge. Bishu now, removing 5 King. Notice in the background, Dia still sitting up on the top left position. He needs to find some picks here. But Geguri finding Surefour is going to make life a lot easier. Once Dia is not being pressured out by Remix, the Primal Rage enables Remix to go so deep and remove Freefeel. And now Dia got to be sweating a little bit. 5 King is there to help him, so a little bit of a boop away. Dia has some safety where he's standing now.
Yeah, 5 King just storming back into the fight, trying to keep Fearless alive when he used Primal Rage.
That's so nasty.
The 6 shot there on Otto. That one shot is going to allow Silk Thread obviously not have to fight the opposing team's Tracer. He's going to be able to dive all the way into the back here onto Dia. This is where you saw Surefour on defense switch over to McCree. Maybe you need to see Dia do that here towards the end.
That infra site's now been activated, so Surefour can see which spawn door the Dragons are going to be coming from. That makes a big difference when you're trying to stave off or prevent stalls from occurring on this final stretch, but they're very close. The Gladiators, they get across the line, and it will be the clean sweep. Silky smooth, excuse the pun. Los Angeles paint the stadium purple a dominant victory overall, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I know Shanghai, obviously, you can see some of the things that they need to continue to work on. You see the Gladiators here coming in. I know kind of shorthanded on the roster. You know, some sickness going around. You know, they're home. Fisher not able to play today. Remix comes in, steps up in a big way. They're able to get a big win here over Shanghai. I know when you have some guys who are sick, you need to have those backups who come in, play at a high level. Thankfully for the Gladiators, they have that.
I mean, my report card for Gigori and Dia over the course of this series has been very good. Free Feel had a very good map 4 as well. We did mention that he had a very quiet performance over on the pool in general. Stepped up, saw a couple of those big Zenyatta picks coming through. We need to see more of those for the Dragons. Again, it's a building process map. Could take a while, could take all stage, could take all next stage, but they're here to stay. So let's see how they go as we head into the future. I'd say for the Los Angeles Gladiators, though, sitting at 11-11, these are the maps that they need to win. These are the matches they must take away. Now we're going to leave you guys with some images of Shawful and Co. dealing death. It's been a pleasure to kick things off here on week 2. Hydration Man agrees. We're going to the desk to break this one down.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
Hello and welcome back, Blizzard Arena, and everyone watching at home. My name is Zoe, and I am joined by no other than iRemix. Please give it up for this young gladiator who has just been playing on stage. And you guys were victorious. 4-0 is the end result of that game. Now, only just this morning, your team actually found out that Fisher won't be able to play, so you were subbed in on quite a short notice. How prepared were you?
Where I practice, I play comp a lot,
so I can keep up with my mechanics, and I watch VODs on my own for like 2 hours, which keep me to keep my mechanics high. But also when we're like in scrims, I'm able to spectate the games and see a game from another perspective, which helps me a lot. For this coming week, I only got like 1 day of practice, and I was really nervous, and but everything worked out in the end.
It did work out, absolutely. Now, it was great to see you back on that stage. And I was just about to ask, with having to replace someone like Fischer, who's been praised so much, and with that little preparation time, what was the state of mind going into this? You just said you were nervous. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I was like nervous at the start, but throughout the games, the nervous goes away. But I try to hype myself up and be really confident. I've been like working really hard behind the scenes, and to be able to show that here is really amazing. And me and Fischer actually get along together, and we're able to talk about stuff together as tanks. And that to me is a benefit that benefits every team, and it will just help us improve in the end.
All right, well, you showed up big on stage. It was great to see you back with your team right there. Thank you so much for joining me for the interview. We're now heading over to the desk to break down the game.
Thank you so much, iRemix. The nerves setting in, but he still gets the win. 4-0 today over the Shanghai Dragons. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett at the desk. Don't smile at my puns, nerds. We got Sideshow. We got Reinforced. Sideshow give me the worst look off camera. I saw it, Sideshow. I see you. Let's talk about Game 3, because, Johnny, you called it at halftime. You said if the Dragons are going to perform in the second half, it's going to be on Nepal. This map fits their playstyle a little bit better. Sideshow, you thought it was going to be Route 66, but let's talk about that Game 3. What did the Dragons show us?
Yeah, so Hydration came out with this Pharah Mercy kind of setup, and they instantly dived it with this Genji Tracer. And before, the Shanghai Dragons had kind of weird strategies that might catch people off guard. Now they're really just trying to make their default really good. And they came out with a good performance here on Nepal, I would say. They neutralized Hydration by just playing really aggressive, and then held control of the point and never let the LA Gladiators take it.
And it sort of plays into their aggressive play style. I mean, throughout this series and even last week, we saw that the Shanghai Dragons, they like to play really aggressive, especially Fearless, borderline too aggressive sometimes with Otto. No, not at all.
According to Puckett, you can never be too aggressive.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Well,
it's all about the main
I agree. Well, we have a good sentiment here on the desk, of course. You can never be too aggressive. You're always creating space. So overall, I think that the Shanghai Dragons, this map played into their playstyle, right? And we see a pretty good performance coming out, but Gladiators, they win it at the end.
I think in general they look a little more coordinated on control maps. Perhaps it's just the fact that you're all fighting in a small location and you're all kind of bunched up together. And Dia had a really good performance. I love the fact that now that he's playing alongside Addo, he's kind of being allowed to flex onto different heroes, and he can even pick up the Tracer. At the beginning, he went ham on the Tracer. When they were playing on Village, went 7 for 1 and was able to tear through everybody there. Helps his team get up. That was 50% of his team's entire kills at that point in Nepal. So he was putting up big numbers. This guy has kind of been unlocked. But just in general, Shanghai are kind of a team composed of these rookies with potential. So it's difficult really to get the best results.
Those numbers are actually ridiculous. 7 final blows in 3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's putting them at 21 limbs and final blows per 10 minutes. That's amongst the top 5 in the league. That's ridiculous numbers right there. But he only played it for one stage.
Yes.
Need to see more of that in the future. Let's talk about
the Widowmaker, of course. I want to mention we saw some Widowmaker coming out from Dia in the preseason. He was great on that hero. So perhaps warming up, getting used to it again, we'll see some good things.
Honestly, I feel like the best thing that happened to Dia was Undead being released from this team. Now he can shine in those heroes he's more comfortable in. Yep. And of course, we know Otto's bringing on the Genji. Let's talk Game 4, though, and let's focus here on the Gladiators. They walk away with the 4-0 today. Who impressed you both, boys?
Well,
I think for me, it's got to be Surefour.
Yeah.
The guy was playing superbly, to be honest, and just putting up monster levels of performance on a huge range of heroes. I've thought of him as quite a streaky player before. He seems to have a few periods where he just doesn't really hit anything.
Yeah.
But then when he goes off, he just hits shot after shot after shot, and can really carry his team through almost any fight.
And this is a hero he has practiced quite a lot. I've even watched his stream, and he said himself that sometimes he's feeling the Widow, sometimes not so much. You know, he's playing a lot of Widowmaker only deathmatch to get this aim going. And as Fisher said himself, he actually complained to Surefour about his Widowmaker for some time, but Surefour, he has put work into it, and this hero is becoming one of his best heroes,
So
honestly.
pure. So pure with those headshots
Yeah.
with the Widow. You saw some nice Diva bombs coming in from Gaguri as well, but at the end of the day, it's all the Gladiators. A little bit better teamwork, a little bit better chemistry, and some star plays coming in from Surefour. Guys, it's no surprise. Our player of the match sponsored by Omen by HP. We're just going to keep talking about the Canadian named Lane. Surefour.
Yep, and he is an excellent player. And in terms of how they're utilizing him, you saw that before this game, he had played 70% of the play time for the LA Gladiators. I think they'll keep it up with that. You know, he'll come in for the maps where they need him to play alongside Silk Thread so that they can play the Widowmaker and the Tracer. They can play the Genji Tracer Dive. He can play such a range of heroes that it really enables
I mean, it's so odd, right? Because now we have Silk Thread in the lineup. We didn't see barely any Asher today. And then we have Surefour with 37.7% of the team's final blows.
That's
of course,
nuts.
it's how they rotate these DPS players. Do they know themselves? Because this is very impressive. It just seems to work out for them. They have so much skill for their DPS players in this team.
rotations. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. It's all planned out.
29 final blows. Surefour, your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Our first match is done. It's cooked. It's Gladiators on top. When we come back, though, we got a big battle between two California squads. So when we return, it's San Francisco taking on the LA Valiant. Don't go anywhere.